Welcome to A Year in the Bible with Daily Grace. The Bible tells one big story of redemption, and we want to spend 5 minutes every day journeying through the Bible from start to finish and exploring how all of it points to Jesus.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Year in the Bible with Daily Grace. My name is Alexa, and today we continue our study of the book of Psalms by looking at Psalms 91 through 95. In Psalm 91, the psalmist declares how God is a God of protection. He writes how God is a refuge and fortress for his people. The psalmist writes how God providentially keeps his people from experiencing suffering. In his faithfulness, God rescues, delivers, and protects those who belong to him. Psalm 92 is a special song that was sung on the Sabbath, the day of rest. This song declares God's faithfulness to his people and praises him for providing for them by the works of his hands. The psalmist also praises God for causing his people to flourish. Unlike the wicked, God's people flourish and thrive because they are rooted in him. In Psalm 93, the psalmist praises God for his eternality. He writes how God is greater and mightier than the things of the earth that seem great and mighty. Because God created and controls the earth, it can't be shaken, for he holds the whole earth in his hands. In Psalm 94, the psalmist writes how God is a great judge over the earth. He calls God to rise up and enact justice upon the earth by punishing the wicked and restoring the poor. The psalmist declares how God will not abandon his people and will bring them deliverance. In his own personal life, he acknowledges how God is his refuge and protection. Even in times of anxiety, he finds comfort and security in the Lord. In Psalm 95, the psalmist calls for Israel to sing praises to the Lord. He exhorts the people to worship and bow down before the Lord because of who he is and what he has done. The psalmist also challenges the people to not harden their hearts against God. He brings up a specific time in Israel's history where the Israelites rebelled against God, and as a punishment, God banned them from entering into the Promised Land. To keep history from repeating itself, Israel must listen to the voice of God and worship him alone. Psalms 91 through 95 are great reminders of who God is. He is our great judge who enacts perfect justice. He is God Most High who is over all things. He is a refuge and fortress who protects and keeps us safe. In times of fear or trouble, who or where do you go to? God stands ready to be our refuge and fortress, but we must run to him. When we go to God as our fortress, we declare that he is our source of utmost protection. Because of God's power and might, he is more stable and steadfast than anything. When we find ourselves afraid, let's remind ourselves how God is mightier than anything we might fear or face in this life. When the floodwaters of fear rise, we must remember who controls the waves. We can also trust God to keep us safe because of our relationship with Christ. While we are not immune from suffering in this life, we are promised deliverance through Christ. Even if we walk through difficulty, we can do so with confidence, knowing that our salvation through Christ keeps us secure. Our salvation means that we are held within God's hands forever. Nothing can tear us apart from God or keep us from experiencing eternal life with him. So in the moments when our world feels heavy, we can find hope knowing that God will not leave his people to live in brokenness forever. One day Christ will return and set all things right. But for now, we can rest in Jesus Christ, who keeps us safe and stable forever. Thanks so much for joining us today. Don't forget that on our website, you can find our Story of Redemption study that accompanies this podcast. And we even have Story of Redemption journals that have dedicated journaling space for every chapter of the Bible. And if you enjoyed today's episode and are excited to come back tomorrow, will you just take a minute to leave us a rating or review on iTunes? This is a great way for more people to find our show. Thanks so much for joining us, and we look forward to talking with you tomorrow.